Hello and welcome to the podcast that asks the question about Netflix versus cinema. Whether it is worth it still going to the cinema in this day and age, or has streaming killed the cinema star? My name is Tosin. I'm based somewhere up near Coventry in the Midlands. And on the Isle of Wight, helping me ask this question are my intrepid fellow explorers, Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hiya.
Now, we are coming to you on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. And also coming to you in the week in which we've just had the BAFTAs over here in the UK. And the trailer for Frozen 2 has been released. So you can imagine there's a lot of squeeing going on all around the world. A whole bunch of... Yeah, I would not be surprised if Let It Go made it back into the charts this weekend. That kind of stuff. But anyway, apart from watching Frozen trailers and looking at the BAFTAs, how have you guys been doing?
Yeah, I've been pretty good, really. I mean, it's been a beautiful day today, isn't it? Really, really gorgeous, super day down here today. Hopefully it will stay like that next week. So really, I haven't seen terrific amount I've been to the cinema twice. Once was for a repeat because I went with a friend. And he wanted to see the movie, and I didn't mind seeing it again. That was Glass. Yeah.
What did you see?
We saw Glass, and I think Sharon went to see Glass.
I saw Glass on it as a rewatch. Yeah. Because again, I went with a friend who hadn't previously seen it, so she wanted to see it.
I personally thought it was better the second time.
I did get a lot more out of it. I think
a lot more out of it. Yeah. Really, really did. But through watching it a second time, because I was much more relaxed and I was watching what was going on all around and how it was framed and everything.
The colour palette, the framing, the certain scenes. Yes, it really struck me how comic-y it was. Yeah,
how it worked. Yeah, so I mean, it was. I'm glad we had the second showing. Watched it a second time because I certainly enjoyed it. The only new film I really watched was the Lego Movie 2. Because of timings, really. Because I would like to have seen something else, but I thought, well, I got to see something at the cinema. So normally I would see loads, but there's not a terrific amount out. I guess that's because
there's loads of films out, but they're not always things. No. There's some things have been out a long time and are still there, and then some of the new releases are just a bit like nah.
But I spent a little bit of time watching documentaries, like war documentaries on Netflix. So I did see it was called The the Battle of Chosin River or something, which was about Korea War, which is about when they were up north and the Chinese came in, and so I watched a bit more, and I went a bit retro, and I did see a film called The Siege of Firebase Gloria, which is like a Vietnam one, and it's got Fred Lee Ermey, what the hell is this private part? You know the one I mean?
No.
No, okay, well, he was in Full Metal Jacket. He's a drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, and he's done a few...
Arlie Ermey.
Yeah, Fred Lee Ermey.
Yes, I know him. Yes,
you know him, yeah?
He died a couple of years ago, didn't he?
No, he died last year.
He
died last year and I didn't know that until I was sort of looking.
Yeah.
But,
I know him. Yes, I know the one you mean.
This was like his film after.
He's done a lot of documentaries as well. He does a lot of stuff on the History Channel and other stuff, doesn't he?
Fast and loud,
Because he's actually he was a veteran himself.
He was, he was, yeah. So I mean, it's so I watched that. I mean, I know it was a bit. I can't even remember what year it was, but it's it's sort of probably 1989.
1989.
Yeah, 1989. The Siege of Firebase Gloria. So I have watched that on Netflix, and as I say, I did.
Is it the first time you've seen it?
Yes, first time I've seen that one, which is unusual for me because it qualifies. Yeah, that's the first time I've seen it. I didn't even know it existed, but it is on Netflix. So so it was quite good. So that's my Netflix
we're all followers here, and that applies. The rules apply to that song, that film. So
it's the first time I've seen it. Yeah.
So what was that? The Siege of Firebase
Gloria.
The Siege of Firebase Gloria. All right, cool. How about you, Sharon? How's the week been, viewing-wise and stuff?
It's been a busy week because it's been dry and bright, so it's been a busy work week for me, so it's been good. So I haven't had as much opportunity as getting to go to the cinema, but I have reclaimed possession of the remote in my house. So I have, but it means I've been catching up on everything I couldn't watch last week. So my viewing has been spent catching up on my regular things I watch once a week that I record and watch.
So for those of you who might be listening who might not be aware, last week Sharon was talking about how the remote control in the house had been commandeered by her brother, who had was home because he was ill and off work. So first things first, let's have the. Is your brother okay?
Yes, he's back to work now, so I haven't seen him at all this week. So, which is
Okay.
if you live with your brother, that's often the best way, isn't it? Two adults living together, it's like if you just don't see each other, you get on fine. It's when you actually have to spend any time with each other that you get problems. So yeah, he's well and he's now back at work.
All right, cool, good stuff. So, but now now that we've sorted out that he's actually still alive and okay, the more important thing is that you got the remote control back.
Yes. So, but most of it was like, spent catching up on things like it was Walking Dead has just premiered, so I watched Walking Dead.
Oh, is that on again?
It was on Monday, and then I've been watching The Passage on Fox, so I've been catching up on that. I've missed a couple of episodes on that, and for me, I'm extremely excited. Portrait Artist of the Year is back on Sky Art, so I get ever so excited about that. Disproportionately excited to be watching people paint pictures, but I love it. And the sewing bee is back, so I'm disproportionately excited about watching people sew on the television. So,
how do you feel about the Great British Bake Off?
See, bit meh. I used to watch it when it was on BBC, but when they decamped, I left. I didn't watch it when it. I've got friends who stayed with it, but I didn't. I stayed with the dame Mary Berry and the girls, and didn't go with Paul.
That's pretty much the same thing that what my wife has done. She's sort of like well, I don't know, the Great British Bake Off not on the BBC just doesn't seem right. So she's pretty much not watched it. I've tried to get her to watch a couple of episodes because I know she likes the show, but she's just sort of like pretty much said no.
Yes, I'm the same. I loved it. I watched every episode and I really got into it. And even though I'm not a particular baker, but I watched it. And then as soon as I went to Channel 4, I was like, I don't think so. I don't think that's for me.
I don't watch any of those reality things. And I don't mind cooking, but I hate cooking programmes. There's just too many of them. Every time, like, if I go over to visit my mum, it's like daytime on the thing, Saturday morning, cooking with so-and-so, cooking with so-and-so, cooking with so-and-so, cooking with
We should introduce my mum to your mum, because my mum watches the television most of the day. Yeah. But in the afternoon, it's Bonanza, Gunsmoke.
Right.
And then in the evening, it's Walker, Texas Ranger. And NCIS.
Well, that's got to be loads better than Bake
Off. But I know far
cooking programs. What does it appeal? I mean,
I know.
God,
but yeah,
everybody's making loads of money.
She watches all these obscure things on like 5 whatever and CBS Action.
Do you watch cooking? Do you watch cooking programs, Tosin? Be honest now.
No, not really. No,
not really. No.
I mean, the thing is, I can't remember the last time I watched a cooking program. I'm a bit like you. I prefer to cook.
Yeah,
I think it's like even no. I mean, cooking programs. No, I mean something like Bake Off. I watch that because I think from an editing point of view and from a storytelling point of view, they've done really, really well to say, oh, look at this. There's a fight going on, and this person's going on. Who's going to do this? And who took whose souffle out of the fridge? And so they create a drama about it. Straight up cooking programs where it's like Nigella Lawson and talking about whatever.
Drops me mad. There's one I think must be on
MasterChef and all that.
There's one on must be Saturday or Sunday morning TV.
There's Saturday Morning Kitchen.
Is it? That's what it is. Yeah, I can't understand that.
I don't watch any of them. I have named my favourite reality programmes. Yeah. It's Strictly in the Autumn, and now this time of year it's Portrait Artist of the Year and Sewing Bee. I can't get enough of, but everything else I can leave quite happily.
I don't watch any reality stuff.
You see, I love Strictly Come Dancing, and even this last year, I think I saw about 2 episodes. So,
yes, it wasn't its best year, I don't think, this year, but I still watched every episode.
I think
people try to get me to say it, and as I say, I know this came back. My mum's a worse. Just, did you see that? Did you must watch this, and she's recorded all the damn stuff or catch up, and she puts it on, and I'm like, no, Mum, I really don't want to see it, but I don't like to upset her. So I was like, look at this was so funny. I said, I don't find that funny at all. But then it's quite funny today. Sorry, Tosin, I'm going off on my tangents, but I've got to say this.
No.
There was this comedian called ages ago called Freddie Starr, which I never really got. And I was with a friend of mine, and he goes, I've got to show you this, Freddie Starr. I was looking at the old one, and it's some sort of stuff. And I didn't find it funny, and yet he was. So it just shows you that one man's,
one man's meat is another man's poison.
Yeah, that's it. So there's no accounting for taste. But I didn't find it funny whatsoever. But he was in hysterics. There you go. But,
Okay.
Sorry about that. Anyway,
right.
Carry on. Yeah.
No. I was going to say that. I think the funny thing is, it seems to be like a bit like you say you prefer cooking but don't like cooking programs. It seems like my wife and I have taken that up, and because we essentially we didn't watch Strictly last year, but we started going to dance classes.
All right.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's one of those weird things. You're like,
you either watch it or you do it. Yeah.
It's like watch it or do it. It's kind of like
you don't do both. You do one or the other.
I love watching. Yeah, I love watching tennis, but I much prefer playing it. And I'll watch it if there's nobody to play with. So, but anyway, right? Okay,
anyway,
shall we start talking about
movies?
films?
Yeah.
Shall we talk about movies? So, did you guys follow the BAFTAs at all this weekend?
I did. Yes.
Yes.
What?
So what did you guys think?
I think they had some good choices. I think sometimes, I think obviously Netflix did remarkably well at the BAFTAs this year, and also The Favourite seemed to do remarkably well. So I think it's nice to see. I know it's a British Film Academy Awards, whatever the name of the company, the academy is, but it's good to see British films doing well. Because sometimes you think you don't want them just to give a nod to a British film. It's like saying, well, we have to support it because it's British. You want to do it because it's a good film. And I think, even though I haven't seen The Favourite, because it just didn't quite match any of my viewing days.
I thought you did see The Favourite.
No, I never got to see that one. But I understand it's a genuinely good film. Well, it's one of those ones none of my friends wanted to see it. So it's, picking a day and then trying to fit everything else in. So I never actually got to see that one.
Oh, right.
But I think it will probably but I think it might lend itself to the small screen as well as the large screen.
Yeah, we can review it again. You can say, I watched it on Netflix.
As a rental,
if it comes, I mean, they do get them,
Yeah, they're getting, I mean, films are appearing on Netflix a lot quicker. They're appearing a lot quicker than they used to at the moment. But I do think that the big thing is, I remember a couple of weeks ago I was talking about how Roma was up for a whole bunch of Oscars, and same thing. It was up for 7 BAFTAs, and it won the biggest two, which is Best Film and Best Director.
Yeah.
What
about that?
And I'm like, this has such a feel of shots fired. About it to me. It's like Netflix going, shots fired, we are here and we are not staying on TV, we're coming to mess things up.
Yeah, we are players.
We are players, we're going to mess things up because people are talking about how great it is and all that, and it still boggles my mind that that film, which is, it's probably the front runner for the Best Picture Oscar, because it's been winning things all over the shop and all that. And this film, most of the people who will see this film will not have seen it in a cinema. They would have seen it in their homes or on their phones or on their tablets or when they're supposed to be working. And they're supposed to be working, but instead they're sort of like having a cheeky look at Roma over while they're at work. And that's the film that people say, best film of the year. Most people have not seen it in the cinema, and it just messes with my mind when I think about it that way. But we'll see. But whatever happens, I'm sure we will still be here to talk about it and go, oh yeah, did you see that? Just wait until the time when they're talking about the biggest movie of the year isn't actually in cinemas.
Yeah, I know, that's quite. Will it get? Do you think it might get a cinema release?
What, Roma? It did have a cinema release.
Oh, it did have a cinema release.
I think it gets a limited one to qualify for these award ceremonies.
Oh, is that what it's for?
Yeah.
Right.
I think it has to have a limited release, otherwise it doesn't qualify.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But it can be like one small cinema in Pimlico, it can play to like 3 people, and it can qualify because it's had a general release.
Ah.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that for me was the big thing when I saw it. I was like, oh, okay, wow. And leading actor, they said Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. Now this, I would have given to Christian Bale for Vice.
Yeah, you liked that in Vice, didn't you? So I'd have given it to, was it Rupert Everett? Well, although that's not actor, he's supporting actor, was it? Not Rupert. What am I talking about?
Yeah, for Richard E. Grant, you're thinking of.
Yes,
Richard E. Grant. Yeah.
Can you forgive me?
Yeah.
So,
but leading actor, I think it was Rami Malek, Christian Bale, and I actually don't remember who else was nominated. I actually don't remember what was nominated, but for me, I thought it was a throwdown between those two. Leading actress was Olivia Colman, and I mean, who's going to argue with that? I'm not. The only thing is, I would have liked. Well, I hope Glenn Close wins the Oscar.
Yeah.
It's just for the wife, isn't it? I haven't actually seen the wife.
Yeah. Have you seen The Wife?
I haven't seen The Wife. It was one of those films that I was like, oh, cool, let's get it, let's watch it. And then it disappeared. It disappeared, or I think at the time it was released, I might actually have been on the island. And you know how the island feels about films like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. We know how that happens.
Yeah, so I haven't actually seen that yet. I think it's been queued up on Sky Movies, so I'm hoping to see that before the Oscars. Because I just think Glenn Close, she's never actually won an Oscar before, and that seems like a bit of a mistake. When you think about it, you think, yeah, like, hang on, how has Glenn Close not won an Oscar? It seems like a bit of a mistake.
I think they were saying that again about Albert Finney, who recently died. I don't think he never won an Oscar, even though you think of his career and you think, really, did he never win anything? But no, he didn't apparently.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a strange thing because like you've got Best Actress and Best Actor, and yet wasn't there something the other day that they should all be called actors or something? Because they're not like bone of contention that instead
Some
of being
people
called
believe it
actors
should
or
be
actress, or
non-gender.
there's some people that think it should be non-gender.
Yeah,
based.
specific.
Yeah.
Well, for a while now, it's become the convention that you just you say they're all actors. You don't call them actors.
Yeah.
About the only time you hear the word actress used is at award
ceremonies. Yeah.
Because you do, but there is actually an awards show that just says the best performance, the lead performance in something, and it's totally it's non-gender specific.
It's talking like leading role, isn't it? And leading supporting role. Yeah. Is it female leading role or something? I don't know what they do.
No. It's no. I mean, they don't have like a female and male. They just have best leading role.
Oh, okay.
Right. So couldn't they just say female actor and male actor rather than actress?
They could do.
But anyway, we're getting into some strange. We're getting into like Green Book territory.
Funnily enough, mentioning that best supporting actor was Mahershala Ali for Green Book.
Yeah, he was good in that.
Oh yeah, that's it. Viggo Mortensen was up for leading actor as well for Green Book.
Cool.
Yeah. Supporting actress was Rachel Weisz in The Favourite.
Yeah, she won that, didn't she? When
she did.
Yeah, so
she did.
I don't know what. It's really, really funny because Margot Robbie was nominated as well, wasn't she? And I really didn't like her in this role.
In Mary Queen of Scots.
I didn't. I've loved her, and I loved her in everything else. I loved her in I, Tonya, Tarzan, everything. And I really, really did not. I did not. For one instance, she did not. I didn't think she played it with credit. I didn't believe she was Elizabeth I. Worst Elizabeth I performance. So I don't know why she got nominated. Well, I suppose because they had to do something.
I don't know because you're the only one I've heard who has not liked that film.
Oh well, there you go. That's Shawnee. That's me. Yeah. Wow. That's it. So, but the supporting actor, So it's
Mahershala Ali, he was good. Yeah,
he was. Yeah, he was good to go. But I see they've got Adam Driver, one of Black Klansman, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad because he's Kylo Ren, isn't he?
Yes.
And I hate him as Kylo Ren. Oh, jeez. But I really, really liked him. I thought he was. I thought he played an excellent part in Black Klansman. I really did. I was really impressed with him.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did. All right. Cool. So before we get onto our whole boxing match, Netflix v Cinema thing, I just want to just a couple of things. Animated film, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I could not agree more.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. So.
Oh, sure, you haven't seen it?
No, I still haven't seen it, so I'll have to wait.
Because you're a Spider-Man fan, right?
I am, yeah, and I just didn't like the idea of it. I didn't like the idea. I think of perhaps I'm a bit precious,
and you know why I didn't see it?
Yeah,
animation. We know it is your kryptonite.
Yeah. Well, you know what I was going to say, Tosin, is there was I can't remember what film it was, but they had like a little 5-minute or 10-minute preview of it. It was after a film, and they showed 5-10 minutes, and I just really didn't get it. It was like this dude, this young lad, sort of just swinging through trains and things like that, and it just didn't grab me. I thought, nah, I'm not really interested in that. But I mean, who knows? I should see it. Really, I shouldn't be so dismissive, should I?
I think especially as a Spider-Man fan, It is. It's a really, really good film. As a Spider-Man fan, it's a good film.
Okay.
But now I want to go on to the film that won. I think it was outstanding debut by a British writer, director, or producer. And this is a film called Beast, which Sharon, you actually got to see. And not only did you get to see it, but you got to see it on DVD, which I'm kind of like, wait a second, they still make those?
I know. Well, it was random because this is a film I'd seen a trailer for because the lead actor in this film is Johnny Flynn. And some people know Johnny Flynn, like I do, as a folk singer. But he has been doing a lot of acting over the last few years. He's been in a number of films. Some people may know him from the Detectorists television series.
Oh, yeah.
Where he plays his voice is the one that sings the theme music to that. And he's released loads of albums. I've got nearly all of his albums. And he's done a film called Song 1 with Anne Hathaway. He was recently in Vanity Fair, the ITV adaptation of it. So I'm a bit of a Johnny Flynn fan for his music, but I do try to see what he's doing acting wise. So I thought I'll check this out. And then I thought, well, it's a film. Is it going to get a cinema release? Obviously it didn't come anywhere near Isle of Wight Cineworld. And then I thought, okay, it's a Film 4 film. Is it? And I went through the listings for Film 4 for, I think, every week for about a month. And it wasn't scheduled anywhere. And I thought, I'm going to have to watch this film. So I went and bought the DVD.
Oh, right. Cool.
And so I did actually see it because I went out and bought it to watch it. And so it's an interest. DVD. I bought a DVD, probably one of the only about 3 DVDs I bought last year.
Okay.
But it's an interesting film. Yeah.
All right, cool. Because I think this is the one that's set on, is it Jersey or Guernsey? I know it's one of the Channel Islands.
On Jersey, set on Jersey.
And it's a bit like a sort of murder mystery, kind of who's killing people kind of thing.
Yes, that's the underlying story. It's basically a story about these two sort of outsiders, basically, who sort of find each other in the midst of this. The island is being sort of torn apart by the fact that there's this murderer who is killing young women and leaving their bodies just to rot, basically. And it's taken a while for them to find the bodies of these young women, but there have been a number of killings over a number of years, but they're quite far apart. They're linked by sort of the fact that these are young girls who've been kidnapped and then their bodies are later found. But they don't know who it is. But one of the suspects for these awful crimes is this one outsider played by Johnny Flynn. And he's a local islander called Pascal. And he basically meets this young girl, young woman rather. She's just played by, her name is Moll, and she's played by Jessie Buckley, who's in lots of things, but I think she's been going under the radar, but she's really beginning to do some interesting things.
I think she's about to break out in a film called Wild Rose.
Oh, right, yes, she plays a country singer.
A Glaswegian country singer, which is one I'm actually looking forward to.
Yeah, because I first heard of Jessie Buckley because she took part in a reality television programme. Ironically, we've just been talking about those. When they were looking for... She was one of the ones looking for Nancy. When they were looking for cast Nancy in a reboot of Oliver, she came, I think, second or third in the actual... is it? Well, I can't remember the name of the show, but it was trying to find Nancy. I'll do anything. One of those, yeah.
Okay. Did I hear Shaun legged it for the door once you said reality TV?
She went,
I'll do anything
for you.
Anyway, sorry.
Well, that one, yeah. That Oliver,
okay.
That's the one. So, yeah, she plays Moll, who's, again, she's this disturbed, troubled young woman, and we hear a bit of her backstory. And so she meets Pascal, and we hear about his backstory. These are basically just two loners who find each other during the midst of this awful thing.
Shaun.
Yes.
As my fellow person who hasn't seen this film, are you getting shades of Badlands?
Similar sort of.
There are elements
theme,
of that in there, yeah.
Badlands, or like what's that name? Bonnie and Clyde, but British.
Yeah, Badlands is a good movie.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen, was that like
Sissy Spacek?
Martin Sheen's first, Sissy Spacek.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
That was their breakout roles.
It was, yeah. I was going to say that's what it was, yeah.
So I think they both put in cracking performances in this. Johnny Flynn and Jessie Buckley both do act their socks off for this. And I think partly it's because it always confounds you, because the title Beast, You don't know who it's referring to, whether it's referring to him or to her, whether it's referring to the actual murderer or what's going on.
When you said Beast Shaun, I was thinking, perhaps it might be some sort of, horror movie or something like that.
The writer grew up on Jersey, and people who know their sort of police crime history know that at the time of this man's childhood, the Bergerac, there was a real predator on the island called the Beast of Jersey. He was nicknamed the Beast of Jersey. And actually, a little side fact here, when I was working for the police, the Beast of Jersey, when he was released from prison, he actually settled on the Isle of Wight. And he was living on the Ventnor at the time of his death. Right. He was residing in Ventnor. And because obviously whenever someone like that, they're monitored when they're released into any community. And I was in the office when they said, this man has died. And so in our office, we actually contacted Jersey Police to say, just so you know, one of yours has died. And the actual police officer we spoke to was one of his victims.
Oh, wow.
So there's a really sort of strange connection. Yeah. So when they talked about the Beast of Jersey, I was like, I don't know him, but I was like, I remember the Beast of Jersey.
See, I had never heard of him.
Well, he was obviously, from the islands, I think he was shocking. And obviously the fact that he settled on this island, he was just an islander. So I think it draws on that whole thing about the claustrophobic nature of being on an island, how you can't escape your sins, how you can't escape. Everyone knows you, everyone knows about you, and everyone forms their opinion about you. So I think this intense, claustrophobic, really dramatic, melodramatic in some places film. But I thought it was a corker. And I think well deserved to win a BAFTA.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, cool. Now, we said this was probably going to be a shorter one, but but we've just as seems to be the case, we always just find stuff that interests us to talk about. Yeah. But let's actually go on to what we've actually seen in the cinema this week. So, Shaun, you and I both saw the Lego Movie too.
We did see the Lego Movie, yeah. Yeah, we
did.
Okay,
cool. I'm going to let you take the lead on this. So, what did you think?
I have to say, I didn't think it was as good as the other ones from a personal point of view. I loved the first one. The first one was absolutely fantastic. Really liked the first one. Probably the best of the bunch, I think. I mean, I didn't mind the Batman one. So I quite liked. So I don't know. I didn't really know what to expect, and this is for me. It was a little bit all over the place. It was lovely and colourful, and I wouldn't say I disliked it, but it's probably still taking me a little bit of time to think. It's one of those movies where I'm not really sure. But I mean, I loved it visually. It was the colours and the cinematography was absolutely fabulous, and there were some really, really good bits that I liked in it. But as I say, it was a little bit all over the place.
So, as someone who has no plan of ever watching it, what is it about?
Well,
okay,
go on. I'll let you do that because you're much better at telling.
It's about Lego.
It is Lego.
Well, you see, the fact that Shaun kind of just sort of like pointed it out there where he said it's a bit all over the place. So when you say what is it all about, that's kind of a bit hard to say.
But it's the premise that these sort of Lego creatures have their own. They walk and talk.
Well, okay, now this is Sharon, you're never going to watch it, and I think anybody who hasn't watched the Lego Movie by now, I think A, only has themselves to blame, and B, probably is never going to watch it, and
so
C, probably already knows this.
It doesn't matter then.
Because the original Lego Movie has this, it builds up to this twist that makes all the randomness that has happened so far make sense.
Okay.
And it builds this twist that makes it, and so in the original one, you have this whole story about it starts off looking like a quest movie of somebody who's just normal and there's nothing remarkable about them, and then they find out that they are the chosen one and blah 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 blah.
Master builders.
And it goes, and they have this whole thing about master builders and all that. And there's a bit where there's a twist in the Lego Movie, in the original one, where one of the characters sort of like falls off the edge of a cliff and then lands on a floor in the real world, which is our world. And then you realize that everything you've been watching so far has been a child playing with Lego. So
okay.
So everything you've watched so far has been a child playing with Lego. And it's this, and I think they do a very clever thing with the whole thing about Lord Business, who's trying to stop there being creativity in the world, and it becomes this.
The crackle. So the first one becomes what they call it, the crackle or something.
The craggle,
Craggle,
the
that's
craggle.
It, the craggle,
Yeah, and it becomes this sort of like rather clever thing about what Lego means and how when you're a kid, it's just about playing and it's about endless creativity. And I think that's what the master builders are all about. Like they can create anything out of anything, and it's just about the joy of Lego. But then when you grow older, it becomes all about hobbyists who are like, oh no, I've built my Millennium Falcon and I've built it and it shall never be anything else. No, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it.
Yeah,
and
we all know those people, don't we?
Exactly, and the Lego movie, like it gives you this story, and then it pulls the rug from underneath you because you realize all of a sudden that it's actually a bigger comment on how you play and how you grow up, and how at one point you decide, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore for some reason. And the second film, it kicks off from that point of view, but I feel like after that reveal in the first film, I'm not sure where else there is to go.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it's just going to be more of the same, surely.
Yeah.
No, I think that's part of the problem in this. I think, and so some of the things is that was the big ace that they had to play in the first film, and in the second film, I mean, it kicks off because so from the word go, because you've seen the first film and you know this is the case. What we're watching is somebody playing with Lego, and then it comes up to this whole, which I think is quite clever because. In the first one was a father and the son playing with it, and then this one it's a brother and sister, and you talk about the way the boy plays with it, and then the way the girl plays with it, and it becomes this whole thing about sibling rivalry, and I think there's things about it that are quite clever, but it does go a bit all over the place because I think that's the nature of playing with Lego, and there's stuff that happens that doesn't quite hold together.
You don't want to tread on it.
I think some hippies in the '60s would love this movie. It would be like a yellow submarine, like a yellow submarine type of thing, I mean, so it probably would have been pretty cool. They would have loved it. But I mean,
look at the screen going, whoa, man!
Right, Tosin, maybe you can help me out here because in the first one of my favourite characters was Kitty. Is it Kitty? It's like
Unikitty.
Unikitty, right? Loved Unikitty. Yes. Now, is that Lego or is it the Duplo? Because I'm never really sure. What?
Unikitty is its own thing. That is, the same way they have Batman. The same way they have. So Batman isn't a Lego thing. Batman is a DC thing, but there's a lot of Batman licensed figures that are licensed through Lego, and I think Unikitty is a similar thing.
All right, okay, cool. But I like Unikitty a lot. I like, especially in the first one.
Yeah,
Unikitty. What a great name. Sorry, yeah.
But there's some bits where I actually laughed out loud.
Yeah.
Because they did like some in joke that I think some people might not have gotten, but I thought like was put there just for me. Like there's a bit where they talk about the fact that they've built this world called Bricksburg at the end of the first movie, but then these Duplo characters keep coming in, and I think Duplo is Lego for younger kids.
For younger kids, yeah.
Yeah, and so these Duplo characters keep coming in and messing everything up. So that's obviously when the younger sister comes in with her Duplo characters and starts messing everything that the older brother's doing.
I love the way they talk.
Ooh,
yeah.
I like you.
We just want to be friends. Can we stay? Yay!
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, it's quite clever, that bit, actually, to be fair, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite clever. And so the idea is that you jump 5 years into the future and it's a wasteland, which kind of represents the fact that the boy has grown up. But there's this bit where they say, but we keep trying to send up heroes to figure out what's going on or figure out what's wrong. And so we send the Justice League. And so they have Superman, Wonder Woman, and they say Batman wasn't around because Batman was off on his own solo adventure, which is obviously the Lego Batman movie. And I think it's just quite clever the way they do that. And then they said, but when the Justice League left, they didn't come back. And seeing as we couldn't get anybody else from Marvel, we were just left with the original Aquaman and this thing. And just the fact that they said, and seeing as Marvel are not answering our calls, that cracked me up. That cracked me up.
Yeah, that's quite funny, isn't it? Yeah.
So there's good things in the film. There's good things in the film, but I just feel it doesn't quite hold together, and I think after the original Lego movie and after that reveal, I'm just not sure it had anywhere else to go, and it did a little bit of it, but I don't think it had enough to sustain a whole story. And unfortunately, I loved Tiffany Haddish, who was in Girls Trip, either last year or the year before, and she like blasted out of the water, was the breakout star of the year. She plays a character in this called Queen Whatever I Wanna Be.
Yeah.
And unfortunately in this I just found her a bit annoying.
Yeah. Very annoying.
I found her a bit annoying. Yeah, it started grating after a while. The whole thing started grating after a while. So I would give it a 3 out of 5.
And I would have to agree with you on that. A 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first one is definitely better, but the
first one's the best, I think, out of all of them. To be fair, I think the first one, because it was great. I mean, I really, really remember enjoying that immensely. The first one. Everything is awesome.
It's also because it was so not expected.
Yes.
Although it's funny because they had Everything Is Awesome, which everybody remembered for weeks, and was just singing that song for weeks.
That's right.
And in this one, they have a song called "This Song's Gonna Get Stuck Inside Your Head."
Yeah.
It goes, this song's gonna get stuck inside you. This song's gonna get stuck inside you. This song's gonna get stuck in.
Yeah, that didn't actually get stuck in mine. No. To be fair, did it get stuck in yours? It might have done by the sound of it. No.
No. To be honest with you, I had to actually try to remember it. But I think, as I said, I think the first one is better, but I don't see that that's any fault of the second film.
No.
I just feel like there was. I just do not know where else there is to go. So yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
I would still recommend it.
Yeah, it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's our sole representative of cinema this week. And we have a whole bunch of films that have been seen on Netflix this week. And I think of essentially just the fact that you mentioned it at the beginning that it's just easier to watch things on Netflix, especially when you have weird viewing times at cinema. I mean, I've been getting a lot busier with work recently, and I've been finding it harder and harder to get to the cinema because I'm like, okay, cool, I could do that. No, why are you showing at that time? I can't make that time.
Yeah.
But on Netflix, you're like, 3 a.m. in the morning. I go 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff on there, so you can you can stop it. I mean, like I said earlier, I've been watching quite a few documentaries. I mean, I watched the in the Korean War, the Battle of Chosin Peninsula, when the Chinese became involved with the Americans, and I remember seeing a film a long time ago called Retreat Hell, right, black and white film, and it was about this, and so but it was really good because, and as I say, I watched. I don't know. So there's documentaries on there to watch as well,
Yeah.
So as well as movies.
All right. So I think this week I'm pretty sure Netflix has won, full stop, because if for nothing else, just from sheer volume, and seeing that cinema only gave us one thing that we could really catch this week, I feel like I feel okay throwing our rules out the window where we say only one thing a week. But. Well, I'm just going to run through some of this list of things I know that you guys have seen. So, Shaun, you've seen The Villaness.
I've seen The Villaness, Korean movie, because obviously... Pardon?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's like, have you seen Old Boy, Sharon? Have you seen Old Boy? Because there was Old Boy and there was... So, I mean, the opening scene in it, this is a very, very violent movie. Very, very violent, so it might not be to everybody's taste. But, I mean... Yeah, extremely violent. And what about, I don't suppose you watched Hardcore Henry either when it came out, did you?
No, I didn't.
Because the opening scene is very much like an old... It's
like a first-person shooter type thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and so at the start of this movie, basically, it's just like Old Boy crossed with Hardcore Henry, I think.
Hardcore, actually, that is very, very true.
That's a good description, yeah?
Yeah, that's very true, yeah.
And I liked both of those movies. I really, really like both of those movies. So, I mean, for me, I have to say that... but now I've got things come up like... because you watch Villaness, you might like... And it's got like... These films, it's got like, action, violence films. I mean, violent films. But I'm really good-natured, I'm quite a peaceful person at heart. So
yes, you do get the recommendations, and some of them are really random.
They are.
It's like,
totally
why
random.
on earth would you recommend that based on what I've just seen?
Exactly. Yeah.
They bear no resemblance to one another. It's like, because you've watched this, I watched this sort of Dutch thriller. It's like, you may like this Chinese romance. It's like, why should I?
Yeah. But I guess
it's just completely random.
Ones, it's just completely random. But so the Villaness is basically female femme fatale that's quite violent, and there's lots of action and lots of fighting, and pretty much if you like those sort of movies, it's worth a watch. I don't know what your take was on it. I suppose there's going to
be fabulous clothes, violence, and a bit of screaming going on.
A lot of shouting and stuff, but I don't so much screaming.
I think this film has one of the greatest openings I've seen of a film in the last decade or so, because it starts off and you're like, what's going on? And it is this crazy action sequence it would be crazy if it was shown in a conventional manner, but it's all done from the point of view of this person who walks into this building, and it seems to be like a sort of drug den or something, and just starts mowing down everybody in their path. Just starts mowing down anything they can grab, hammer. That's it. Good. And then they eventually get to this room with mirrors, and you realize that the person who's doing all this carnage that you have seen is a woman. And after she wipes everybody else out, she gets sort of like arrested, taken in. They realize that she's pregnant. So she was pregnant while she was doing all this. And she gets taken into some sort of CIA or whatever the Korean version of that is, but some sort of secret agent. And says, okay, now you're going to do. So there's a little bit of La Femme Nikita in it, where it's all about you're going to do things for us, and it just sort of like builds up, and there's a conspiracy, and there's a bit of a love story in there as well, and there's a bit where her handler falls in love with her. So it does that. And I think this is something that I find a lot in Southeast Asian cinema that they can do. They can get away with the ultra violent right beside the ultra schmaltzy.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Right beside it's kind of like, kill, love, kill.
So it's as I say, it was a bit. There was.
Hey, sounds perfect for Valentine's Day.
Sometimes some of the flashbacks are a bit. I think because there's a couple of.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard to know when it's a flashback. I found it. Yeah. I was confused. I was like, hang on, wait a second. Yeah. Is this a flashback? Because
they look very similar.
Did that guy die?
There's a couple of girls in it that look really, really similar, and I was sometimes, just on the odd occasion, it was like, oh, which one's which,
Yeah. Sean, I have to totally agree with you. And there were bits where I did not know who was who.
That's it.
And I did not know who was who.
It's like a bit in a makeup room, like in a studio makeup-y room thing, and it's just like, what's going on there? Who's that? Who's this? Who's that?
Yeah, and it might mean that I need to work on my sort of like telling Korean people apart stuff. But I will hold my hands up and say yes, that might very well be true. But there were some bits where I really struggled to follow which timeline we were in.
Yeah.
So,
good.
But all in all, I would still give it 4.
Yeah, I would give it a 4-star. Yeah, it's worth a watch if you enjoy that type of movie. It's a good watch. Did I say last week?
Okay,
yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. No, but what was the film we spoke about last week?
Well, it's the series Kingdom.
Yeah. No, not Kingdom. We spoke about that because you enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yes, I saw that on your recommendation.
The film with the guy you liked, the Scarlet guy, whatever his name is.
Polar. You mean Polar?
Polar, yeah, because I think I might have said last week that I watched it.
Yes, you watched Mads
Mikkelsen. I really enjoyed that, and that was on your recommendation. Yes. So good. And hopefully you enjoyed Kingdom on my recommendation.
Yes, I did, very much.
Oh, good.
So Sharon, you think on the when it came to Kingdom, Shaun was talking sense?
Yes, I thought, yes, you did, because I remember you particularly mentioned about the cinematic nature of it, the fact that it felt historically accurate, and that the weapons and the timing of like loading weapons and firing them felt right. And all of those things were true. Yeah, I agree with all those things and the costumes were sumptuous, and
I'm just giving Sharon a big hug now.
Oh, thank you, squeeze. And that it for me it worked. They had this sort of political subplot.
Yeah.
And as that unfolded, as the sort of episodes went by, that made sense, and then the origin story made sense. So it wasn't like because some zombie, you don't know, like with Walking Dead, you don't know really how it began.
It all started. No,
it just started, and you don't really understand where it came from or what's happened or what triggered it. And this, you know what the cause is, and you know how it spreads, and you know in some ways why it spreads, and yet there's this inevitability about the sort of the problem, the scale of what's facing them. So I thought, they built up the tension really well.
Yeah, it's good.
And I would be interested to see if they carried on with another season of it. But it was definitely worth a watch.
Set it up for
and even though I find, because with I watch a lot of non-English films, and you do get to pick up some words and you get to break down sentences and you think, that is not a strict translation of what you've just said. No. But with Korean, I've got no idea at all. I've got nothing. Even the names, even though I'd see the subtitle and then I'd think, this name's coming up, listen for the name, I'd miss it every single time. So I've got no idea how to pronounce any of their names, any of the places. And it feels like a completely foreign, alien language. Yeah. But in some ways, if you can get past that sort of alienness of it, the fact that you cannot break down any of the sentences at all and make head nor tail of anything, it's still fascinating and it does draw you in.
Oh, good. I'm
really good film. I really enjoyed it, yeah.
Now it's up
Netflix,
to you,
bringing the world together.
Yes.
yeah, if I get time. But honestly, I do not understand where all my time has gone. I don't even have kids. And still, I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm not sure I'm going to get a chance to watch anything this week. It's terrible. So okay, Shaun, you wanted to talk about the Siege of Firebase.
Yeah, the Siege of Firebase Gloria.
Gloria, that's it. I was thinking Olivia, but no.
Yeah, so this it's a 1989 film, and it's a Vietnam film. And at one stage of the cinema, I loved Vietnam films. I couldn't get enough of Vietnam.
Well, there were a lot of them at one time. The Hamburger Hill and the Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket,
Platoon.
Tigerland, Platoon, loads of them, all those. So,
boom, 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 they all came at us within a very short space of time,
didn't they? They did. The first real Vietnam one I saw was The Boys in Company C. Now, that was the first, I think that came out about 1976, so you're talking not too long after the fall of Vietnam, so obviously, and it was quite an anti-war film. And the guy in it, Fred Lee Ermey, I think, or they call him Fred Lee Ermey?
No, it's R. Lee Ermey.
Is it? All right, I always known him as Fred Lee Ermey for some reason, because I think in the film, Lee Ermey. So, well, anyway, so he was in this Boys in Company C, all right, and originally he was an advisor, but because he was so good, they said, they want you on it. And I think also, when he did Full Metal Jacket, because he was so good, Kubrick said, I just want you to ad-lib. Now, as Vietnam films go, I think The Boys in Company C is far superior to Full Metal Jacket. But anyway, so I'm flicking through, and I like I said to you, I watched some documentaries, and I watched one on Korea, and then these films come up, and there was this one, The Siege of Firebase Gloria. And I thought, well, I've never seen that. I've seen most Vietnam films, and I've never seen The Siege. And it's basically around about the time of Khe Sanh, the Tet Offensive. And basically starts off with this little platoon of Marines, and they're going through the jungle. Something happens, they get caught up in a bit of a firefight. They get rescued by a helicopter. Helicopter gets shot down. They have to make their way to the firebase. The firebase is really not ready to receive anything. The commanding officer, the captain's a bit of a stoner. He's on anyway. So obviously, Fred Lee Ermey takes over, and it's got all the defences and everything, and so it's a major battle. But the people they're fighting is the Viet Cong. Now, during the Tet Offensive, the Viet Cong were South Vietnamese soldiers, and the North Vietnamese, the NVA, the North Vietnamese were different. So basically, when this Tet Offensive come up, it was all Viet Cong regiments, southern ones, and of course, they attacked all these bases. They did it Khe Sanh like that. And although the Americans took a lot of casualties, they also, practically annihilated the Viet Cong as a fighting force, which enabled after that the North Vietnamese army to become more involved. So, and it's really good in this because you actually see a little bit from the VC, the South Vietnamese point of view, and the commanding officer he sort of says it. This is what's going to happen. We're going to attack this base. We're going to all get killed, and then we're not going to be a fighting force in the south. So you've got that side of it as well, which is really, really good. The action's pretty standard. But if you like Vietnam War films, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah,
it sounded like you were quite up on it. You were quite like, oh wow, this is a good film. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
does it help to know the history a bit more about the Vietnam War?
Probably if you wanted to see it just as a war film, it would work.
It would still work.
But because I was so interested in
if you know that period and you know that
period. So I have to say that the weapons were accurate, and So we didn't have to worry too much about that point. And Lee Ermey was obviously his good old self taking command, getting all the army boys, all the Marines up together. So it's a good bit of action.
It gave you a good. So what would you give it score wise?
I'd have to give it probably. It's a toughie one. This I would probably have to give it a 3 because I didn't think it was. It's good enough to watch and it's okay. I didn't have any major issues with it, but I didn't think it was. I've seen better ones, shall we say? I've seen better movies, and I think it would be fairly cheap. It wouldn't have surprised me if it was one of those straight to VHS ones when it first come out, because you've got somebody called Wings Hauser in it. I think was on a lot of
good old Wings
Hauser. So and I think he was in a lot of those 80s, early 90s videos, like lot of films, So
All right, so it's kind of like your Sunday, like Vietnam being treated like it sounds a bit like it's Vietnam being treated like a Sunday afternoon World War II.
little matinee thing, you could watch, and it's worth a watch if you like Vietnam films. It's probably worth a watch. But I wouldn't say, as war films go, if you were just looking for a war film as such, I wouldn't say it was like, up with the greats. But good enough to watch, especially if you do like your Vietnam war films, like me.
All right. Okay, cool. So Sharon, you said you got mine to finish off Altered Carbon.
Yes.
Earlier. So if we can go, I think we have 2 more things. We're going to go Altered Carbon, then I'm going to talk about Mowgli. So Altered Carbon it was released with a lot of fanfare. It's supposed to be based on a book series that's quite
it's based on a book.
Yeah, and it was at the moment like one of the most expensive TV series ever made, and it also got ripped apart with terrible reviews. Are you going to add to this? Are you going to pile in, or do you have a pleasant surprise for us?
I can understand why people criticise it, because there's a lot of world building going on here. It's set a considerable time in the future, and this is a future where technology has moved on, where each person who's born gets like a chip in the back of their neck that basically encapsulates someone's consciousness in this chip.
Oh yeah.
So when you die, it's called a stack, I think. When you die, they can take this out of you and then put it into another body. And so basically they refer to your body as your skin. So it's like saying you can take the stack and put it in a new skin. And so basically, potentially, people can live one life after another. And the super wealthy have developed this system where they can create clones of themselves. So they basically have the same body. They find an age that they like. Say if they've been in their 30s or 40s, they will just have a body that's the body they want, and then they'll just keep uploading their consciousness into that body through their stack, and they have like backups for themselves. If they get murdered, their consciousness just gets put into a new version of themselves, a new body. Yeah. And so this is set because it'll be in the future, and this one chap, the main hero, is basically defrosted in the future and put into a new body. He's a man of Southeast Asian heritage, mixed
Japanese,
race heritage.
I think it is, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Japanese and European heritage. And
Takeshi Kovacs.
That's right. And he's put into this body. Well, very well remembered. And that's why he's got this mixed name. He's got a Japanese surname and then a Polish or Central European surname. Yeah. And so he's put into this body of a white male detective who's recently died. And he's been tasked to investigate the mysterious death of one of these multi-billionaires whose consciousness was uploaded into his new body, but he doesn't know how he died. He doesn't know if he was murdered or the circumstance about why he was died. So, but he's got like this gap of no knowledge of the last 24 hours because he's basically his consciousness reboots every hour into this backup system, and then he's lost one day and he wants to know what happened in that day.
All right. So it sounds like, so you said there's a lot of world building.
Yes. Because this is a future where there are 7 inhabited worlds and they each have a different history. And then there's been revolutions and wars and different people have been part of wars, and they have like super elite fighting forces, then they have rebels against the super elite fighting forces, then they have a police force who tries to be somewhere in the middle, and then you've got the super elite billionaires who run everything.
Good Lord.
So you've got a lot of there's a huge sort of information dump on you, but you do get more and more information as the story goes on, but it can
How
be
many episodes are we looking at?
Oh, I think there was something like 12.
Whoa,
Okay.
You watched all 12?
Yes.
Whoa, wow. Can I ask you one thing, Sharon?
Yeah.
You said about like different factions. Is there much action in it?
Lots of action. There's lots of fighting because
the sort of stuff I'd like.
There's because I've got a Japanese heritage. There's a lot of martial arty types. Well, actually, it says here there's 18 episodes, so I don't know whether. But there's a second season, so I've only seen season 1.
All right, cool. I didn't even know they kept that quiet, because they made a big song and dance over the first season when it came out, and I didn't hear anything about the second season.
No, apparently there's due to be another one this year, or unless I'm misreading the information. But the guy who plays Takeshi Kovacs is Joel Kinnaman, and he's basically been drawn in to investigate the murder of multi-billionaire James Purfoy, who's and he sort of teams up with the former partner of the body that he's inhabiting. And so there's issues of police officer, and there's lots going on. And you get flashbacks to his original life, his original skin, and then to another when he's been uploaded into a different consciousness. There's a lot of world building going on. And then you've got this mystery that is unfolding through each episode, basically.
All right, so the big question comes on. Any good?
Yes and no. It's quite violent, and there's quite a high sexual content. So in practically every episode there's nudity, and there's sometimes there's sexual violence, and sometimes there's
Shaun just perked up. Shaun just went, whatever.
And I think there's quite a lot.
Building, don't care.
Yeah, but then there's a lot of, I think, a lot of the female characters are sexualized. There isn't a single female actor in it who isn't naked at some point in quite a highly sexualized way, more so than the men. The men you may see like a flash of chest. But the women are just like, there's all out there. So it feels slightly sexist in that way, and a lot of the female characters are subjected and they're brutalized and in sort of highly sort of sexualized ways. So I was uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, well, we're talking on this thing is sometimes I think some of those scenes are unnecessary, because I think you can, in certain ones you can say, oh yeah, they're going to get together, they're going to do whatever they're going to do, but you know, and you don't really need it. And I've been in actual films at the cinema where they've had a sex scene, if you will, and I'm just like, all right, well, we know what's going on. I don't really need to see it. Can we just get on with the movie, please?
Yeah, and I found to me, I found it quite sexualized and in a sort of violent sort of way. So I was uncomfortable with some of the sexualized violence in it. And the story got a bit complicated. By the end of the season, I didn't really care how this guy died or why, but it's quite involved, and it shows like the seediness of what happens when people can live forever. What, you know, did they lose that sense of their moral center? Do they lose that sense of right and wrong? Because if you can just do anything and then either wipe the slate clean so you can't remember it, or there's no consequences, then you can have the most depraved and do the most depraved things. And a lot of these characters do. So you find that you're dealing with people who are unpleasant, and you don't really care why they got murdered, because you think he probably deserved to be, disposed of. And there's other sort of there's lots going on in these episodes. So I would say it's okay. There's some things to like about it. It's like they've got a bold vision that this is a completely new sort of vision. Though, it's slightly reminiscent of elements of Blade Runner.
Right.
In that sort of future where everything's raining all the time and all the streets are really grubby. But it is bold in that it sort of creates a whole new world of 7 different worlds with their own complex histories and complex things going on. But I would say it's an okay, and I would give it a 3.
All right, cool. But let's hope that they fix it in the second season, if they get one. Because before that was released, I was actually kind of like, yeah. That's happened with a couple of Netflix things. Before they're released, I'm like, yeah. Then once I see the first reviews, I'm like, I won't bother then. That'll be like 10 hours of my life, and I don't really want to.
Yeah, it might make more sense to read it.
it was similar with a film called Mute, which is from the director of
Duncan
Moon
Jones
and Source Code. Yeah, Duncan Jones. That was a Netflix film. That was one of those films that went straight to Netflix, and people said, "Ooh, really interesting," but not quite the sum of its parts. Oh, all right. So I'm gonna round us off with another Netflix film, which has a very interesting sort of backstory of how it ended up on Netflix. And this is Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle. This is directed by Andy Serkis, the granddaddy of motion capture. He of Gollum fame. And you know how it is in Hollywood. Every now and then, there seems to be something under the water, and everybody decides to make the same film at the same time.
Yes.
So you had like Deep Impact and Armageddon come out like within months of each other. You had A Bug's Life and Ants come out almost at exactly the same time.
You normally get like two Robin Hood films at the same time, don't you? Wasn't it Prince of Thieves and then the one with Patrick Burgin? I can't remember the name of that one. Maybe just Robin Hood.
Yes.
They were both out at the same time.
They were both at the same time. You had Rob Roy and Braveheart.
Yes. And this year we had two films about Churchill, didn't we? We had Darkest Hour and Churchill within a month of each other.
Last year. Yeah,
last year.
Within. Yeah, and it's so you seem to have this, and Mowgli. I think this was actually announced first. It was Warner Brothers going. We're gonna make the Jungle Book, and originally it was called Jungle Book Origins, and they were going to make a version of the Jungle Book that was closer to Rudyard Kipling's original thing. So no singing, no ooby doo, I want to be like you, no, none of that, no, and it was, but because now they had the technology, they were going to get the granddaddy of motion capture in, and they were going to make this new vision of the Jungle Book. Then Disney announced, guess what? We've been going through our back catalog, and we've decided to make all these films again. And guess what film we're going to make? The Jungle Book. So even though Disney announced the Jungle Book after what was then Jungle Book Origins, Disney released theirs first. And when they released theirs, it became a big, massive hit. And all of a sudden, everything went quiet. Everything went quiet on Andy Serkis's Jungle Book front. And they were just, okay, let's just keep quiet. And they kept pushing it back. And they were like, yeah, we're going to push it back because it's going to give us more time to get the effects right and make it as great as it could be. And they kept pushing it back. And Warner Brothers kept pushing it back and back. And the next thing we heard is, oh, yeah, by the way, it's now a Netflix film. So pretty much Warner Brothers, I think what they did is they looked at what the Disney film was doing. They saw how big it'd become, and they said, there's no space for us in the market. We can't market this. If we put this in the cinema, we're not going to make any money. So they just gave it to Netflix, who, as we know, as we said on this podcast, don't care. They don't care. Yeah, they don't care whether it makes any money. So
was it any good, Toast? That's the thing. That's what we're waiting to hear.
I know. This film is good in bits. It's good in bits, and I think it's kind of like one of those. There's bits about this. Like, I'm not sure. Has anybody actually read the original Jungle Book?
No, I haven't. There was an Alexander Korda film. Did you ever see the old Alexander Korda film? It was called The Jungle Book. There was a Jungle Book, and there was The Thief of Baghdad, and they were like really colourful, really great adventures. And I think there's Raymond Massey in it at the start going, "Oh, best beloved, we've got," and that's pretty good. And he tells the story. He goes car and yeah, that's quite good. If you ever get a chance to see that, Tosin, it might be worth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 1940s film, isn't it? Maybe Shaun will have a look for me.
I think it is.
But that's called The Jungle Book, and it's really, really colourful, and it's really, really, really quite old. So,
well, I'll tell you the thing, right? I think that this is the thing. If this film, as they have said, goes towards or is very faithful to the original Rudyard Kipling story, then I can understand why a lot of people seem to sort of like add elements to it, because this isn't a kid's film. Let me put it that way. I know it has a PG-13 rating, but it isn't a kid's film. It doesn't shy away from the violence that would exist in the jungle between the different animals. So I think it's definitely a much more violent take on the Jungle Book. It's a lot less cheery. There's like, even the way it ends is, if you compare it to like the Disney versions of how, because Mowgli's going to have a showdown with Shere Khan. the showdown with Shere Khan is quite violent in this. So and I think it's quite good. There's some of the shots are amazing. The CGI is amazing in it. It does a similar thing, like when you watch the Disney Jungle Book live action one, and it was hard to believe that the only thing that was real was the boy who played Mowgli. Everything else was a computer. You have a similar thing in this one, but what they do in this one is that they have this weird thing where, because you have Christian Bale doing a voice, you have Kate Blanchett doing a voice, and you can kind of see their faces in the faces of the animals. Which is there was actually one that
sounds interesting.
Yeah, there is the leader of the wolf pack called Akila. He started speaking and I was like, hey, that voice sounds familiar. Then I looked at the face of the wolf and I was like, is that Peter Mullan? And it turns out it was actually Peter Mullan. And the facial expressions of the wolf are Peter Mullan's facial expressions. I'm like, it's a bit weird, but it actually kind of works. So, but all in all, I think the film, it's kind of like, at the end of it, you're kind of left going, oh, it wasn't really a massive adventure. They went a bit more grown up because there's questions in there that is a little bit about, not racism, but about race. And about people saying, oh, where do I belong? And who... So the whole idea that Mowgli comes in and he's not really treated as... There's people who don't like him because he's not one of us. And there's this undercurrent of it. But I quite like the fact that this is a film that points out, more than any other version of the Jungle Book I've seen, that, hey, people, this thing is set in India.
Yeah.
It points out more that it does a little bit more with the human village that's close to them. So I quite like that, but all in all, I'll give it a 3.
You give it a 3, okay. Yeah, it's worth... if you ever get a chance, Tosin, Sharon's kindly found out 1942 Jungle Book, which is based on the story. So if you ever get a chance to see that, it's worth a watch. It really is. It's really colourful. It's lovely.
Yes, Sabu. He was very famous at the time as this. He was like the famous.
Well, he was in the
young
Baghdad
Indian, Indian actor.
So, but
I know him.
You've heard of him, yeah.
Oh, well, that sounds interesting though, because I have read some Kipling, and I have watched. It's one of the few animated films I have actually seen.
What? Jungle Book?
The original Jungle, the
Disney
Jungle Book. Yeah, I have seen that one.
Yeah.
Only because I was made to, but I have actually seen it. And I did see the live action version, which I thought was, entertaining. So it'll be interesting to see a different take on it.
It would be nice. Would be nice to see, especially with the faces looking the same. So, what did you say, Tosin? A 3?
A 3.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.
Okay,
I'll give it a 3 because I feel like at the end you're kind of like, well, I'm not really sure where that was going, or not really sure what was up with that, and what was the point? But it made me want to go read the original story and see, because I can't imagine that Kipling was particularly... I think he had other things going on, and he had when he wrote it, and he wasn't particularly looking for like a child's fantasy.
No,
I don't think, because even Baloo, the biggest thing here is Baloo. Bagheera is kind of the same character, but in this one you have Baloo, and he's played by Andy Serkis, and Baloo's a much different character. He is not jolly at all. He's like a drill sergeant in this, so he's pretty much the R. Lee Ermey of this film. And I was like, oh, that's different. I've never seen that before. Oh, that's quite good. But yeah, that's what I would say. I'll give that a 3. And if we averaged out the scores this week,
go on.
If we average out the score, it's really, really close. It's really close. I think we have Cinema has a 3, and Netflix has I got a second. Let me just do this.
Do the averages.
Yeah. Averages. Carry the 1. Wait a second. Have I done that right? Oh no. Oh yeah. No, I didn't do that right. Yeah, you got to divide by 4. We talk about 4 movies. Netflix has a 3.25. So Netflix just about does that, even though there was more stuff that we watched. Netflix, we only marginally had a better time with Netflix this week, and that was mainly down to the Villaness. So everything else is just a 3.
Yep.
Everything else is just a 3.
Oh well, pretty average week then, eh?
Pretty average week.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, pretty average week. Not that great. Just go watch the trailer for Frozen 2. All right, but anyway, all that's left to say is thank you so much for joining us for this rambling episode of Netflix versus cinema, where we didn't do much Netflixing versus cinema, but I really enjoyed the chat. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Toes.
And,
thanks, Sharon.
Yeah, and to anybody listening to this, thank you for listening to us, to three friends, continually giving themselves an excuse to go to the cinema and watch films. Anyway, till next week. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Bye.
See you guys next week. Oh, actually, no, we're away next week.
We are away next week.
See you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. See you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. See you in a fortnight.
Okay.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye.